My name is Josh Lewin, and we're going to have a little virtual chat here. Toby Bailey is joining us. Tyus Edney is joining us. We've got about probably, 30, 40 minutes with these guys, and I don't want to waste a lot of time with snappy introductions because these guys don't really need introductions, but I'll do it anyway in just a minute. I think Josh Rebels found our perfect wooden quote, fellas. That through adversity, we learn, grow stronger, and become better people. And if the coronavirus is doing anything for us, I guess that's probably it. So I hope you guys are as healthy as possible. Welcome back. Thank you for everybody joining us. Thank you for your support of UCLA athletics, especially during this very interesting and trying time. Tyus Edney, I'm sure you know. Long Beach native, Long Beach Poly guy, 4-year letter winner, 3-year starter, former point guard, second all-time in assists, yada, yada, yada. 9 years on the UCLA coaching staff, now the director of engagement, Bruin Varsity Club. As for Toby Bailey from Loyola High School, 4-year starter, number 5 all-time scorer at UCLA, second-round pick by the Lakers, VP of basketball for Paradigm Sports Management now. So that's your Toby Bailey background. That's your Tyus Edney background. How are you guys holding up? How are your families? Tyus, let's start with you. Are you able to continue working from home? How's that going?
It's going well. Unfortunately, today I had the baby jump in while I was in a meeting with Taylor Swearingen, so he got a real taste of working from home. But I know Toby knows what I'm talking about. But it's been good. It's been good to be around family and try to get something done.
Yeah, fortunately enough, we've been able to continue to work, and most of our job is done remotely anyway. So a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom calls. It's actually been pretty good. Being able to spend a lot of time with the family, having 3 kids, young kids, and trying to make sure they're properly educated is a challenge. But no, this has been good.
So let me dive in, guys. It's, anytime you get a nice round number like a 0 or a 5 at the end of it, you start talking about anniversaries. And this is now the 25-year anniversary of the one title that was won without John Wooden at the control stick. And it was not just any garden variety championship, 32-1, including 17-1 in what was then the Pac-10. There was a loss to Oregon in the opener, and then essentially a 17-game win streak. I know there was technically a loss to Cal, but it was later forfeited by Cal because of rules violations we won't specify at this time. But if memory serves, Tyus, Coach Herrick got ejected from the one loss against Oregon, arguing a traveling call by you late in that game. Do you remember how that all came down?
Not really. I just remember that Oregon, and Toby knows, it's just never gone well with Oregon. I mean, those games have always been tough and very heated. That comes from some years built up, I'm sure, of some tough games, just, tough situations and some tough memories with Oregon. So I'm sure Coach Herrick, all that came out in that moment.
But it ended up being the only loss of the year. And Toby, for you, the win over Kentucky in the Wooden Classic, they were number 7 at the time. Is that when you guys started believing a little bit like it was your time?
I think so. I knew how strong that Kentucky team was. Before that, we were preseason number 1 going into the season. I didn't realize, having that number 1 target on you, I knew everybody was going to be coming after us. And I think people didn't really give us the credit until we got that win. And after we got that win, I think the entire nation was kind of like, okay, they deserve this number 1 ranking. And I think we started to internally believe also, like, okay, this could be real.
The defense stepped up so big that year is one of the things I remember. I know that Coach Lavin, I think, is one that has T-shirts made up for practice, right? So things like Master Lock. It's going to have to be a difference, right? Because not to keep dredging up the stuff you don't want to talk about, but the year before, Tulsa put 63 on you in a half, right? And, you had an early end, and it seemed like you guys as a collective were like, okay, right, Toby, that's not
You could talk about that. You could talk about that previous year all you want.
I was gonna say I'll take that one because yeah, Toby fortunately was not part of that. So he kind of got the wrath though the next year because he saw how serious. He probably was like, these seniors are real serious. What are they so pissed off? So yeah, that game we honestly were pissed off from that game just from going into the locker room to the next season. And I remember Ed just basically, he exploded on everyone. And I think at that moment, everyone that was coming back, their mind was already in the next season. Like, that's enough, our next season. Because we knew even that we were good that year. And then that we, with Toby and the freshman JR and Chris and those guys coming in, and we knew we'd be even better. So I think our next season really started right then.
And as that season unfolded, all the great players in the Pac-10, you get into the tournament. Whether it's Eric Dampier at Mississippi State, just a ton of tough dudes that you had to work through and around that year. For either of you guys, do you recall a particular matchup, a particular player that either made it tough for you or you were just very happy to have been done with?
Yeah. For me personally, I think it was Ray Allen was tough. We knew that team. They were a high-profile team. They had, Donnie Marshall. They had a lot of really good players on that team. And me having the personal job of trying to shut down Ray Allen was, it was a tough situation. And he had 36 points. And
good job, Toby. Way to stop him.
I slowed him down a little bit. I think it could have gotten worse.
Thank God you had the T-shirt that said "lockdown" on it. You would have got
yeah.
But
my lock was broken that game.
But in that tournament though, and Tyus, obviously, I have to get it to Boise for you in the Missouri game. It's that dreaded 1 versus 8, right? And the mad dash with 4.8 to go. Being asked about that, number one. Number two, how often do you find yourself watching it, either because you want to or because somebody puts it in your face?
You asked how often am I asked about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think fortunately I'm at UCLA still, I guess for the last 10 years and probably because I'm on campus and just seeing people, they probably I see someone talk about it maybe at least once, let's say, I don't know. But the good thing is it's a good memory, so it wasn't a missed shot. And it comes up usually around tournament time, I think, when they start showing highlights and old games and buzzer beaters and things like that. I actually watched the game. Doug Erickson, he had an article in the Times. I don't know if you guys saw that. I'm pubbing him right now. He made a copy of all the games and he gave it to me. So I hadn't watched that game in a long time. And
thanks for sharing, Tyus.
I got you. I haven't watched that game. I can't remember the last time. Probably since we played it, honestly. And I was nervous in the game, watching it like it was still in the game and didn't know the outcome. So, but that's how good, that's how good Missouri was and how tough that game was. Is even though you know the outcome, it still makes you nervous, So the fact that we got through that was a blessing, and it's been honestly a good memory.
In lifetime, Toby, where were you in relation to Tyus on the court, and do you remember your reaction and who you hugged first?
Yeah, I was right behind him. When he drove, I was following right behind him, and I jumped, and I was actually there in case there was a tip back. Afterwards, I just remember jumping up and down in the air, just and just totally joyous. It was amazing. I think Bob grabbed Tyus first and kind of started him away, so we couldn't get a hold of him. So I was just jumping up, like looking around at who I could go to hug. Great memory. Great memory.
Bob was in the weight room then too, Josh. You remember their crew? They had the weight room crew, so like Bob was like a bodybuilder there.
Yeah, that was before
I was
Bob
like a fly.
Myers, the yoga guy. That wasn't Bob Myers yoga.
If you see now, yeah.
Well, speaking of weight room strength, I gotta ask, hanging on the rim against Arkansas when Ed O'Bannon set you up, and when did you know it was reverse dunk time as opposed to something safer?
You know what? I did that dunk a lot, and I remember watching. There was a guy named James Gray that played at Westchester back in the day, and I went to a city championship game. I think it was them against Crenshaw, and as a high school kid, and I remember watching him, and in the championship game, he did a reverse dunk and came down, and the whole place exploded, and I was just, I was in amazement. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that on this stage. And that was, and so I always kind of wanted to do that. And I think, as soon as he threw me the ball, I knew, that's what I wanted to do.
I didn't even know that. That's a good story. All right.
It's very cool. And, so I got to ask you guys, how often do you guys from the 95 team get together, whether it's a Zoom call or just blowing each other's phones up? I mean, it doesn't have to be an anniversary, I wouldn't think, but do you guys get together and talk about the good times just because sometimes, or how does that work?
I think we have we have different pods that get together. Tyus and I, our wives are great friends, and Tyus is, one of my best friends, and it's just, so we hang out all the time. Like, I'm his little baby Gage. I'm his godfather, so that's my little man. So we hang out a lot. I periodically see, the O'Bannons and Chris Johnson, and Ike Nwankwo is a really dear friend of mine as well. So I try to see, a lot of the guys as much as possible. But Tyus, you probably come in contact with a lot more guys since you're kind of at UCLA, and they probably come through, huh?
Yeah, it's for when they come in town. That is one good thing about being back at the school, is when they come in town, I get to see him and talk to him. And like Big George coming in for his son is playing at Pepperdine now, and he came by the school, and I haven't seen Big George in a long time. And I usually see, like Toby said, when Ike comes around and Chris, those guys. When Cam plays here, Romar, Ladd is doing games. I see that, so Coach Herrick we see all the time. So sometimes Coach Herrick too, when he's beating up on me on the golf course. But,
Myers,
yeah,
Myers quite a lot.
Yeah, Myers too. Myers comes and he always brings the Warriors to practice up on campus, so we get to see Bob and talk to him. So yeah, guys, we all kind of run into each other here and there, and we keep in touch. And I always say it's kind of like we're just a family. Like you don't see your family members every day, but you touch base with them, you talk to them from time to time, make sure they're good and all that. So we do that.
So let me take you guys back. I want to stay in the postseason, if you will. We never got to have March Madness this year, so vicariously, let's do that here right now. Florida International, you guys took care of. We talked about the Missouri game. I mentioned Mississippi State real quick with Dampier, and that was a very good team. UConn, you mentioned Toby. And sometimes people fast forward around the Oklahoma State game, I think. That's the Final Four game. For Tyus, I know for you, a significant game because that's where you hurt your wrist. And it was Lavin at the time, if I remember right, that had the quote about, you can have Steve Young and Joe Montana, and you don't really miss a beat, right? I mean, so it's true. Cameron Dollar came in there, and he's Steve Young, you're Joe Montana, and I get that. It's wonderful. But how tough was it for you knowing when that happened to your wrist, like, like this is not good?
Yeah, that I think, I hurt my wrist in that game, and I finished the game. Once you're going, Toby knows, is that adrenaline can get you through a lot. I didn't realize probably till towards the end of the game, I think I got fouled. I had free throws to shoot, and I remember really struggling to shoot those free throws. So I started worrying going into the next game. So yeah, that the day in between or whatever, it was a couple days. It was I feel like I don't know how well I would have played anyway. I probably feel like I slept maybe like 5 hours for 2 days because my wrist was that bad. I just couldn't even sleep or anything. So it was tough. I knew how bad it was. I knew it was really bad. And I don't know if like Toby and those guys knew, because I guess we were all trying to keep it business as usual. But I did go up to Cameron before the game, and I was like, Cam, look, you got to be ready, man. I'm not right. And he just really brushed me off. Like, whatever, dude, just get out. Come on. All right, come on, let's go. So, and I had to grab him like, no, Cam, for real. Like, you got to really be ready because my wrist, I can't even hold the ball. It was really bad. It was really bad. So, luckily, obviously, he had a great season. He played great all year. And he just stepped in and did what he did all season.
How was it with the scissors when you cut down the net? You need your wrist for that, or did you go other hand?
I would have chewed that net off if I had to.
Do you still have the piece of the net, Ty? And what about piece of that net?
It's at my mom's, I believe. My parents, I keep some stuff at my parents' house. So they have like a chest of stuff that they gave us, when you finish up, and it hope it's still together. I haven't checked in a while.
Toby, where's your net?
Yeah, I also have it in all my UCLA stuff together. I probably should have done a better job of labeling it because I got a few nets, net here and there. Yeah, that was good. Fun times.
Nice problem to have is too many nets. Just kind of round it out. We got some general questions that came in from those people that are on the chat, and shout out to you guys for doing this, and not only Toby and Ty, but all the people that are here with us here, looking so forward to what I really think is going to be a great year in 2021 for the basketball team, and then going forward from there. So some general questions. We'll do just kind of like, rat-a-tat style, just shotgun it right out of here. Ty, you go first. What was your favorite class at UCLA?
Oh, wow. It was one of my comm class. I was a comm major. And Marty Gregory, she was the head of the department. She had a great class that it was like a mass media based class. And that's just that she's one of the ones I actually still keep in touch with every now and then. And I just really was lucky to take her class and get to know her. Toby,
what you got?
I think I was a history major. I think we had history of California, which was amazing class. And just being a California native, being able to see, the history throughout the years and now as I have kids and I you go to different parts of California, you're able to kind of speak, with some an educational background on the certain historical landmarks and how certain things came to be. And it's that was a really interesting class that I've used since, my college days.
Good stuff. Question number 2 off of our general questions board. What made the chemistry on that 95 team so good? Was it Ed O'Bannon? Was it just everybody meshing together? Was it the coaches? Toby, if you want to start with that one, because you were joining brand new. So what do you think made it so special?
Yeah, I think it was all of the above. I think it was the fact that the freshmen coming in had so much respect for the senior players. And, we knew our place and, we followed directions. We wanted to prove ourselves, but we respected everything they said. We knew them. We knew a lot of the players before we came in there. I knew Chris Johnson before. I knew Ed and Charles. When I was in high school, I used to go play with them. And so I knew a lot of the players beforehand, and we all did. So it was kind of like joining a family. I think the seniors had respect for us because they did see us play as kids and saw us growing up. So it wasn't like, some snotty-nosed kid that I don't know if he can play or not is coming in here. It was like, I know Toby can play. I've seen him play since he was in the 9th grade. So I think it was a mix of both of those things.
Hi, what do you think about that?
Yeah, he's right. We all, I mean, a lot of us were California, not everybody, but we all were, knew each other, played together at different times. Um, I think there's a video of that somebody put up of one of the games when I was younger, and Charles was on that team with me, and Ed was on the other team, and sometime I play with that, So we just like Toby was saying, we all just knew each other before that and had tremendous respect for each other, played against each other in high school or whatever, and so it was like he said, like a family. I mean, I think everyone with the freshmen coming in, and I think they gave us older guys a boost of energy and just excitement, and they just kind of made the chemistry that much tighter and that much closer. And we just really gelled. And I think we all just really enjoyed playing with each other. Like, truly. I mean, we had fun out there. And I think that's what people saw, is how much fun it looked like we were having, and we really were having that much fun.
Keeping it on that track, this is from the general question bin again. What is Big George doing these days? Had a couple people wanting to know exactly that. So, Ty, I know you're completely plugged in. Give us the gossip.
So Big George he's been commentating for EuroLeague, which is like the main league in Europe. For those who don't know, it's kind of like the NBA over there. And he's been doing games for them. He also has like some buildings that he runs, apartment buildings, parking lots, things like that. He's got 4 kids, so he's busy with that. And then he used to do stuff with the kind of the federation in Czech. He's in Czech Republic right now. I don't know if I told you. He's in Prague. So yeah, he's doing great. And now he has a son that's playing for Coach Romar at Pepperdine. So he'll be coming back in town every now and then, which is good. So we can see him.
So again, just kind of throwing it out there from general questions that were asked. And if you want to start with this one, Ty, how did winning that national championship help you in your non-basketball life of becoming a champion? What did that do for you as a 21, 22-year-old person?
I mean, I'd say it opened a lot of doors to goodness, really relationships, people meeting different types of people that you don't expect would be, I don't know if you call them fans or liked our team and remember us, and just the opportunities that's come just from being a part of winning a championship at UCLA with the tradition that Coach Wooden had and built. And you realize, at the time you don't realize until later, you realize how much that meant for, a lot of people. Not even all Bruins. I mean, like everyone, just people in LA that were just basketball fans or just happy that a team from LA won, and with kids that they know or knew or watched growing up, and just really more relationships I think over the years that I've had and formed, and just a different type of people I've met. So it's been great.
Yeah.
And Toby, for you?
I would ditto that. I think exactly what he said as far as relationships, and I think the main thing is for me winning a championship. Before the season started, I had a vision board where I put it up on my mirror, and I had everything that I wanted. I had my personal goals, I had my team goals, and almost every one of those goals by the end of the year, I would see it every day when I was brushing my teeth. We actually came to fruition. And when you see at a young age that no matter how high you set your goals, it can actually happen, that set like a pace for the rest of my life. So now, I try to dream as big as I can because I know it can happen. And so, I think that's helped me. I think I try to, make sure that my kids understand that, because once you see behind that velvet curtain when you're 18 years old and you see like, okay, if you put your hard work in and, you have a little luck behind you, you can really, achieve some stuff. You just live your life differently. And, I've been fortunate to do that.
All right, last. that is ridiculously controversial. I almost can't believe I'm asking it, but I'm going to throw it out there. Could the 1995 team have beaten any of the Wooden Championship teams? John had 10. You guys had that one. I know you guys didn't have a Bill Walton on your team. You didn't have Lou Alcindor on your team. Very loaded question, and you don't want to disrespect anybody who came before you, but they told me to ask you the question, Ty. So what do you think?
Oh goodness, they wanted me to answer that.
I told me to, but you're.
See, what's funny is Toby's look on his face is like, "Are you serious? You're gonna try to answer that?"
You can play it right down the middle. You know, it's like right in the middle of the green.
He knows I'm not gonna answer it.
All right, I'm gonna do an.
I don't know. Look, honestly,
I'm a UCLA baby. I came. You know, my dad went to UCLA. My wife went to UCLA. My sister-in-law, my brother. You know, I have a ton of UCLA history, and so I can't answer that question. But I'll tell you this: just the way I know Tyus and I are, we don't feel like we could lose to anybody. I think we could beat, you know, that Fab Five Michigan team. I think we could beat the Duke team with Christian Laettner. I like, that's just how we're made up. So I'm not gonna say that they could have beat us, but I'm not gonna say we could have beat them either. Yeah.
Just say it'd have been a tough series, I guess.
It would have been, man. Those teams are legendary, man. Legendary.
So kind of speaking of which, and I was chatting with Ty before we all came on the air. Toby, I don't know if you saw this hit today. The Athletic, which I know is a subscription website, so not everybody's got it or has access to it, but they decided in this era now of content creation, because we're all just dying for basketball and dying to have something to talk about, they threw it out there to three of their best writers. If you could take the entire group of UCLA players, Wooden era on, put them in a blender, let's have a draft. Your team 1, your team 2, your team 3. Everybody gets 8 players. And these writers, it was Seth Davis, it was Brian Hamilton, Brian Bennett, they went through, and they were ordered to draft their UCLA teams of 8. And you can't have repeats, right? I mean, once somebody's drafted, they're gone. So I thought it was a fascinating premise. And what they did was they said for Kareem or Lou Alcindor and for Bill Walton, they're ineligible because those two players were so dominant, it would have been unfair for the guy picking third. Right?
Yes.
So you just have to take it right off the board. So, Toby, just to guess, I mean, infinite well of possibilities. But without Lou Alcindor on the board, without Bill Walton on the board, who do you think was the number 1 pick if you wanted to build your all-time UCLA team?
Someone sent me that this morning, but I couldn't open it. So I'm glad I couldn't. So you're saying my number 1 pick?
If you had the number 1 pick and you can't pick Alcindor and you can't pick Bill,
I think I'd have to go with Marcus Johnson.
I mean, there are no wrong answers here, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember if I blabbed you who went 1 or not, but who do you think you went?
I don't think you told me, actually.
I'm gonna in a minute, but
my goodness.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
I'm going with my teammate, Ed.
So Ed was picked 3rd, okay? And I want to I'm going to pull this up because I want to make sure I've got it right here. Hang on. But number 1, and again, we can debate this all night long if you really want to, was Reggie Miller. And the reasoning was, and they threw it out there that, look, this is a guy who won 1 NCAA tournament game, never made first or second team All-American over all the illustrious, decorated, title-winning players in Bruins history. But the point was, you know, it wasn't his fault that he didn't have teammates like you guys, that if there was a three-point line, every year he was there. The 1 year he was there with a three-point line, he hit 43%. And if you're looking for translatable skills in the modern game, you take Reggie. But this is how it went. I'll read it to you right here. Gail Goodrich went number 2. Ed went number 3. Kevin Love went 4. Lonzo went 5. Sidney Wicks 6. Russell Westbrook 7. Wilkes was 8. Marcus Johnson 9, which I thought was low. I'm with you, too. Capono went 10. Don McLean went 11. Greenwood 12. Aflalo 13. Pooh was in there. Collison was in there. My partner, Tracy Murray, was either 17 or 18. What was he in the actual NBA draft? 18? I think he was 18. So maybe he was 17 in this one. Walt Hazzard, Kiki Vandeweghe. Toby Bailey did make top 20. Toby Bailey, Seth Davis wanted you.
Wow.
And here's what Seth Davis said. He said, do you think Bailey would enjoy playing with Lonzo? A stellar wing athlete who loves the big stage. All he did was drop 26 and 9 on Arkansas as a freshman in the NCAA Championship game. He stayed 4 years. He got better each and every season. 3-time all-conference selection, the school's 9th leading scorer. He was a baller. And that is why you got picked by Seth Davis. So that's pretty good.
That's really nice. You just read that list, and I'm just thinking of 30 other guys that are studs. That
I know.
I'm just like, UCLA is just, our history is
it's too many.
And it's crazy to even be listed with those guys.
Well, and you bring up a great point because, and I'm so new to it. I mean, 4 years at UCLA now. But if you know the history at all, I'm looking at this top 25. I mean, Lucius Allen didn't make the cut, right? I mean, Curtis Rowe didn't make the cut. Trevor Ariza didn't make the cut.
Baron Davis, was he on there? Baron Davis?
No, Baron didn't make the cut. And everybody at the end of this thing, they all arrived at the same punchline at the end. They said it came down for a lot of people. People were debating Walt Hazzard or Tyus at the very end of this thing. And all three guys that picked basically hitting themselves on the head saying, how could none of us have picked Tyus Edney? But like you kind of suggested, Ty, I mean, this competition is crazy. So if you get squeezed out by Walt Hazzard, that's kind of okay.
I would probably pick Walt over me. Walt was a beast.
I'll try to send this thing.
He was a game-changing type of guard, man. That's why, we were kind of spawned from how he played, So it's hard, man. Those debates are hard.
Man, you can't do that with UCLA. It's just too much firepower.
It is.
No, right. I mean, Earl Watson doesn't make the top 20.
Oh, my God.
Right. I mean, but then you go back to this list and you're like, well, who are you going to X off of it? And to your point, it's just such a thick resume, right? I mean, so to kind of get back to what we were talking about, you guys, being blessed enough to get into a program where you had the history, but then you're able to make some more history. And Tyus, since you've been so close to the program lately, it's one of the things I think we can all agree that when the kids come in, we call them kids now because to us they're kids, but knowing that history, and I think the UCLA does such a great job of making sure they know from the, you walk down that hallway at Pauley Pavilion from the locker room out to the court, and you're seeing the names and the photos of who these guys are, right? I mean, so to educate these younger kids about all these men we just mentioned, that's pretty big.
Yeah, that hallway, and Toby knows that hallway too. It's unbelievable. I mean, hopefully it's not too intimidating because you got all the banners and then you have all the All-Americans and then the NBA players, and it's, hopefully for them it's inspirational, but it is very impressive when you see it, right there in front of you. And I've taken many just kids and people down that hallway, and you have no idea how many of them say, well, wait, he went to UCLA, and this player went to UCLA. I mean, it's like, it's unbelievable how surprising it is that we have so many pros and just guys that were successful or even played, not necessarily NBA, but just played either overseas also for years, and just the success of our former athletes is unbelievable.
I mean, was Westbrook on that list? Did you say Westbrook? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say, God, goodness gracious.
Well, it's like going through a list of Oscar-winning actors, right? I mean, and there's no long answers here, right? I mean, everybody won an award at some point. So, guys, before we wrap, and I can't thank you enough for doing this tonight, and hopefully we'll have more of these because, of course, the UCLA community, we're all missing everybody, right? I mean, we're all just kind of decked out in our homes and our offices. Toby, let me start with you on this one before we say goodbye. The thing or things you're looking forward to the most when things are reasonably back to normal.
Oh man, I just, it's not even for me. It's just, it's for my kids. I just want to be able to take them out and give them some normalcy and maybe go to the beach and just hang out with friends and family. That's the biggest thing for me. That I get it, I can understand it, but it's tougher for the kids that can't see their cousins and can't see Granny and Papa all the time. It's tough. So I just can't wait for that, just to be able to touch and feel some family.
And Ty, what about for you?
I mean, obviously similar to Toby, just being able to kind of just move around again. And honestly, I know this is a sports conversation, so I think we all will appreciate having sports back and being able to, come to games or just, I think you take it for granted because you think it's going to always be there. And then when it's taken away, it's like, man, I really missed that. So doing those kind of things. And I know just the really simple things, just doing everyday stuff, but just being able to have peace of mind. Really, I mean, like he said, just getting together and hanging out. Hopefully Toby will have us come. He just moved, so hopefully we'll come and crash his spot one night.
You know that. Gotta see my little man.
Yeah. So.
I love that you guys have stayed such great friends, and that this 95 team in general still engenders such warmth. Obviously, with the team itself, I guess maybe I'm not surprised, but in the UCLA athletic community, I'm just imagining the wide smiles on, because it's ridiculous to think it was literally a quarter of a century ago now, not to make us all feel really old. Tyus looks like he's 19, which is just big.
I got to keep this happy.
Yeah.
Play, of course, but but we're look, we're all getting older, we're all getting further down the road. But what a nice thing to think that you guys will always have that to bring you together and bring you back to the UCLA community. So happy anniversary, guys. Please continue to stay safe and love each other, and we sure appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks everyone too for joining. We appreciate that.
Yeah, everybody tuning in, appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Toby Bailey, Tyus Edney, and stay safe, everybody. My name is Josh Lewin. Appreciate our virtual chat tonight, your interactive season ticket holder experience. Looking forward to seeing you back at Pauley just as soon as humanly possible. Good night.